Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Vidapatakamanam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaidam Savadudam Parijana Saidam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shivishakam Vidamsya Ye Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanda Namostude Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha Kalpatarubhesha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Padidanam Pavanebhyo Vishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Budale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nidinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Dadare Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Hare Krishna Hari Om Tat Sat. Welcome all the devotees for today's Mukundamala class. We are reading Stotra 14. What is the tune for this?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Dandavat Pranam. Prithvi Renurανupayamsi Kanika Falguspulingo Lagos Tejo Niswasanam Maruttanutaram Randram Susukshmam Nabha Shudra Rudra Pidamaha Prabhritya Kita Samassa Sura Drishte Yatra Satarako Vijayate Sri Pada Dhuli Kana. Okay, Sachi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I'll try Prabhu. Prithvirenur anupayam shikanika falguspulingo lagos tejo nikshwasanam maruttanutaram randram sushukshmam nabha shudra rudra pitamaha prabhritaya kitha samastha sura drishte yatra satarako vijayate Sripada Dhulikanaha.
Translation, Prince Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Translation. Once our Savior has been seen, the whole earth becomes no greater than a speck of dust. All the waters of the ocean become mere droplets. The totality of fire becomes a minute spark. The winds become just a faint sigh, and the expanse of space becomes a tiny hole. Great lords like Rudra and grandfather Brahma become insignificant, and all the demigods become like small insects. Indeed, even one particle of dust from our Lord's feet conquers all. Hare Krishna.
Very good. Once our Savior has been seen, the whole earth becomes no greater than a speck of dust. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Ekamsena Sthido Jagat. Ekamsha, just the entire creation is sustaining on a speck of my lotus feet. The entire creation, just fragmental part of mine. So that's what is mentioned here. Once our Savior has been seen, whole earth becomes no greater than a speck of dust. See, if you see, even if you see, many such videos are coming. The expanse of the universe, many galaxies and stars and the sun and moon and many planets. So if you see all those things, what is the significance of this Earth planet? Not even a dot in that vast universe. Not even a dot. Isn't it? We have seen that. Many videos. So if you compare all this, it is not even the speck of the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So that is Supreme Lord Krishna. All the waters of the ocean become mere droplets. For us, the depth and breadth and depth of the ocean, you can't even fathom. Okay. So if you compare to the Supreme Lord, it's just a droplets of water. The whole, so many oceans are there. So all these things will be some few droplets of water. The totality of fire becomes a minute spark. The winds become just a faint sigh, and the expanse of space becomes a tiny hole. So in comparison to the Lord, it's all very, very tiny. Great lords like Rudra and grandfather Brahma become insignificant. We say Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, they're all great demigods. So in front of the Supreme Lord, they become insignificant. Now all the demigods become like small insects. So if Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are insignificant, what to speak of the other demigods? Okay, they all become like insects. Indeed, even one particle of dust from the Lord's feet conquers all. One small particle conquers everything, the whole creation. Siddha Goswami says in Srimad Bhagavatam, okay, the position of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Maruda Stuvanti Divyastave Vede Sangha Pada Kramopanishade Gayandi Yam Samagha Dhyanavastita Tadgadena Manasa Pashyandi Yam Yogino Yasyantam Navidu Surasura Gana Devaya Tasmai Namah. Okay. It says, Siddha Goswami said, unto that personality whom Brahma, Varuna, Indra, Rudra, and the Marus praise by chanting transcendental hymns and reciting the Vedas with all their corollaries, Padakramas and Upanishads. He is paying his respectful obeisances. Whom, not the small demigods, Brahma, Varuna, Indra, Rudra, Marus, all of them praise how? By transcendental hymns from the Vedas. And with their corollaries, Padakramas and Upanishads, to whom the chanters of Samaveda always sing. Samaveda is all glorification. So they sing and glorify the Supreme Lord, whom the perfected yogi see within their minds after fixing themselves in trance and absorbing themselves within him, and whose limit can never be found by any demigod or demon. Unto that Supreme Personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances. So from this, we can understand, the position of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Everybody glorify him. He is the only person who is independent. All others are dependent on the Supreme Lord. That's why Brahma himself says in Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigra Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karam. He is the cause of all causes. There is no cause for him. But all others are dependent on him. Other demigods like Brahma, Shiva, Vayu, Varuna, Chandra, Indra, Chandra, Surya, they're all dependent. They are not independent. That's in the first sloka itself. Vyasadeva says, he is Swarat. He is independent. Abhijna Swarat. He is fully cognizant. He is fully independent. No one else is independent. So Lord Krishna is unlimited. No one is greater than or equal to him. So what is the Sanskrit word for that? No one is greater or equal to him.
Asamudva.
Asamaurdhva. Okay. Therefore, it is impossible to compare him with anyone else. Even if we wish to make a favorable comparison, he is unique. There is nobody to compare with. Nobody is there. Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnu aradhanam param. Lord Shiva tells Parvati. Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnu aradhanam param. So the aradhana, the upasana, the worship of Vishnu is the topmost. Lord Shiva tells Parvati. He is unique. Everything depends on him. And he is the only provider. Eko bahunam yuvidadati kaman. He is the chief among everyone. Therefore, to say that God is greater than all others is insufficient praise. It's not the actual glorification. It is insufficient. We cannot glorify the Supreme Lord. Why? See, the leelas that he performs in this material world is unlimited. Lord Brahma says, you go to a seashore and from morning till evening, you count the waves. Perhaps you may be able to count it. Okay. From morning till evening, you may be able to count the waves of the ocean. How many waves are coming and going? But you cannot count the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. In some places, it's said that scientists may be able to count the atoms of this universe, atoms, one day, maybe. But they won't be able to count the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. That is, how the Supreme Lord is. It's very difficult for us to glorify him also. So, but to bring the reality of the Godhead more vividly to focus in our limited minds, which are always prone to making comparisons, King Kulashekara here gives us metaphors that stress supreme greatness of the Lord. So we always compare, just like Prabhupada says, Dr. Frog's philosophy. We all know that. Prince Prabhu, you know Dr. Frog's philosophy?
No, Prabhuji.
You don't know? I think Sachi Mataji and Arun Prabhu will be knowing, you know?
Prabhuji, I'm sorry, Prabhu, I couldn't recollect.
Dr. Frog's philosophy, Prabhupada says, there was a frog in a well. Okay? There was a frog in a well. You know that, no? Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, now I know.
Yeah. So that is, Prabhupada always says that Dr. Frog's philosophy. So similarly, we all, relate, we all compare. Just like the frog in the well is comparing, oh, the ocean will be 10 times bigger, 100 times bigger, million times bigger. No. That's what it is said here. We always prone to make comparisons. So King Kulashekara here gives us metaphors that stress the supreme greatness of the Lord. He compares the Supreme Lord to persons and things we might think are the very greatest. Lord Krishna, when he comes, he performs activities in such a way that he is like an ordinary person. He doesn't exhibit his Aishwarya, opulences, very openly. Only devotees will be able to understand that. Others will think that he is a Mayavi, just like Duryodhana thinks always that he is a Mayavi. Okay? He's a great actor. He thinks himself as God. Isn't it? This is what, see, Shishupal, Duryodhana, and Jarasandha, all of them thought that he's an ordinary person. He is one of the Yadus. But only the devotees. So he, in Bhagavad Gita also it is said that Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavruta. Naham prakasha sarvasya. I'm not bound to reveal myself to all. I'm covered with my own yogamaya potency. So he covers his own potency, his own bhagavata or opulences, aishwarya. He doesn't display that. He doesn't exhibit that. So ordinary people, those are abhaktas, those who are not believing in the Supreme Lord Krishna's opulences, they think that he is also one among us, isn't it? So he compares the Supreme Lord to persons and things we might think are the very greatest. Those who reject the personal conception of God, such as pantheists, think that the earth itself is God. So what is pantheism means? Whatever we are seeing in this material world, the earth and like the ocean, the mountains, these are all God. It represents God. So the earth itself is God. So some impersonalists think that the sky is the greatest manifestation, and so they consider it to be God. Sky is so vast, so they consider them to be God. Sky. Demigods worshippers consider Rudra or Brahma the supreme person, or they think all gods are equal. Thus, Kulachakra's metaphors serve to dismantle all these misconceptions. So, compared to the great sky, the earth, the ocean, the mountains, what is the position of Supreme Lord? They're all very, very insignificant. We can say they are not existing at all. If the whole ocean is compared to few droplets of water. There are many magicians who perform their magical feats. Okay, isn't it? And will be wonderstruck. Oh, how is it possible? How these magicians are performing such magical feats? Will be so much astonished and surprised by seeing that. But the magic of the Supreme Lord, the very nature that we are seeing, the flower, it's a small bud in the morning. As the day progresses, it blossoms, it spreads fragrances, so beautiful, very good texture, very soft. How it is happening? Automatically, everything is by the will of the Supreme Lord, everything is happening. So how can we fathom this Supreme Lord? It's very difficult. Even the great demigods like Lord Brahma and Shiva cannot understand this Leela, this Supreme Lord's Leelas. So some impersonalists think that the sky is the greatest. Yeah, we read that. So this verse expresses King Kulashekara's mood of awe and reverence as he contemplates the Supreme Lord's magnificent power and opulence. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's, Ujjala Nilamani Kana. He explains a very beautiful story. He's comparing the Supreme Lord's Leelas, the Supreme Lord's opulences or his abilities and all, just comparing. So, in the olden days, in the kingdom, the kings, for his leisure purpose, he used to invite the magicians to his court. So they all exhibit the best magics to please the king. So one day the king invited a very famous magician of the time to perform some magical feats in his court. So they all came. It's a family, father, mother, and two children. Father, mother, and two children. So they all came. So they tied one rope to two poles. Okay. And the mother climbed through the pole with a cycle, and she's riding the cycle on the rope. You know, the rope is how many, maybe 2 inch or 3 inches thickness. The mother is riding the bicycle from one end to the other end. The father and children are playing drums here. So according to the tune of the drums played by the father and the children, the mother is riding the cycle, dancing on the cycle from one end to the other end. Okay, the king, the queen, and all the people in the kingdom, they were very happy seeing this stunt, magic. It's a really magic, circus, magic, whatever you call. So they were very happy. So they did so many such feats. They were all very happy. So at last they wound up. King was very happy because of the performance. The king and queen called the mother, and the queen gifted a very precious necklace from her own neck and gifted to the mother. Mother was so happy. It's very, very precious gem necklace, very costly, very valuable. So very, very happy. Okay. So immediately as she got it, the children saw that, they immediately snatched from the hand of the mother. Okay. So one child got it and started running, because this is very precious. The other child also ran after him. At last he caught, and they were fighting. And as they were fighting, the child was not giving him. So he took a knife and stabbed him. And both of them stabbed each other, both of them dead. It was a very wonderful, very entertaining evening. So this tragedy took place. Both the children were dead. What to do? The mother and father without children, they were so sad. They killed themselves by stabbing, both of them. Father stabbed himself, mother stabbed herself. Both of them also died. So all the 4 participants of this magic feast, they were dead. The king, the queen, all the subjects were very, very upset. They were so sad. Such a very nice performance they performed. And at last, this is the result. All the 4 were dead. They were very sad. And the king arranged to bury them. They arranged to bury the dead bodies. So they arranged the burial of the dead bodies. They did it. And all of them returned with a very sad mood. They were very sad because this happened in their kingdom. It's not good, no? So time passed. After a few days, the king is getting a letter, an anonymous letter. He opened the letter. So the letter read like this: we had come to your kingdom few days back, and we performed magical feats, and you gave upahar, tofa, gift only to our mother, and you did not give us gift. It is not fair. Where are our gifts? There was address of the sender in the letter. So the king was surprised. How is it possible? Who is writing this letter? The magic happened there few days back, and all of them were dead, and we have buried them also. We have buried them also. So the king sent the ministers to find out who wrote this letter. So in the address given, they went to search the sender of the letter. When they went there, the ministers saw the same father, mother, and children are there in the garden and playing. The ministers told the king, yes, they're all alive. Bring them here. The ministers brought these 4 people, father, mother, and 2 children, to their court again. And the king and queen and all others were wonderstruck. How is it happening? So this was also a magic. Just imagine. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, if mortal beings can exhibit such magic, so what to speak of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor, controller, enjoyer, and master of the whole creation? So what will be his magic? And we are seeing that magic in front of our eyes, and we take them all as granted that it happened just like that. The very prakriti, the very nature, material nature, if you really analyze, you really study, we know it's really magic. So this small magic, these mortal beings have performed is nothing in front of the real magic that the Supreme Lord is exhibiting in this material world, isn't it? The progenies, we are all getting children. How from conception till birth, how they are growing. And if you just study this itself, we know. Isn't it miracle? Isn't it miracle? That's why, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also telling, if ordinary human being can do such feats, so what to speak of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So the whole, yeah. So the where you stopped? Yeah, this verse expresses Kulashekara's mood of awe and reverence as he contemplates the Supreme Lord's magnificent power and opulence. Many pure bhaktas go beyond this appreciation of the Lord in his opulent majesty and come to enjoy intimate, loving exchanges with him. So these are, as far as the ordinary people are concerned, they are wonderstruck with the opulence of the Supreme Lord. But the bhaktas, the devotees of Supreme Lord, they go beyond and they enjoy the intimate, loving exchange with the Supreme Personality of God. Like the gopis and gopas of Vrindavana, the Vrajavasis, Yashoda Maya, Nanda Maharaja, all of them enjoys the loving exchange. They are not surprised, they are not astonished by the opulences of the Supreme Lord. Oh, that's nothing. What is important for them is the loving exchange. They can treat the Supreme Lord as their friend. They can treat the Supreme Lord as their son. They can treat the Supreme Lord as their master. They can treat the Supreme Lord as the conjugal lover. So in this, they're relishing this mellows with the Supreme Lord. So much so, these opulences will be eclipsed by the loving exchange relish. So the opulences of the Supreme Lord will be eclipsed by the sweet loving exchange between the Supreme Lord and the devotees. They don't give importance to the opulences. So in Goloka Vrindavana, he hides his opulences by his own Yogamaya potency. His Bhagavata, his opulences are covered by his own Yogamaya potency. He is not exhibiting that there. Nor the devotees in the Vrindavana accept him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For them, the Supreme Lord is their playmates or the friends, okay, or their conjugal lover or their beloved son. So, but regardless of one's ultimate relationship with the Lord, when one starts one's devotional career, one must be trained to appreciate the greatness of the Supreme Lord. It is for our benefit, for our purification, that we need to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord doesn't require any of our certificate. He doesn't require. But we require. Why? By glorifying the Supreme Lord, our existence will be purified. That is the purpose. He doesn't care. He is Supreme Personality of Godhead, whether or not we glorify him. Nobody can take his position. He has not become Supreme Personality of Godhead by our glorification. Isn't it? Has he become Supreme Lord because we have glorified him? No. He is always, whether he takes the form of a boar or a fish, okay, or a dwarf or Narsimha, he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. He doesn't diminish from that position. That is it. But in the material world, when I work in a lower position and when I work as a CEO of a company, they're not the same. My position is not the same. When I get the respect that I get when I am in a higher position is different than the respect I get on a lower position. But the Supreme Lord, when he comes, has a boar incarnation. Boar we don't like. The pig or hog or boar we don't like. But that same boar as a deity we install in a temple and worship. Isn't it? So whether he comes as a boar or Narasimha or Vamana or fish or Kurma, he maintains his position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one must be trained to appreciate the greatness of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita 9.8, Krishna teaches his friend Arjuna, the whole cosmic order is under me. The whole cosmic is under me. What is that 9.8? Pragardim swam avastabhya visrijam puna puna bodhagramam imam krishnam avasam pragardir vasat. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again. And under my will, it is annihilated at the end. So Krishna is the cause of all causes. And he controls everything. He is the master, he is the proprietor, he is the controller, he is the enjoyer. That's what 9.8 says. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again. And under my will, it is annihilated at the end. So just by his will, just by his thinking, everything happens. But then why does he come down? If Ravana has to be killed, the Asuras have to be killed, okay, or Kamsa has to be killed. Simply by thinking, they can be killed because the Paramatma is there in everyone's heart. The Paramatma can make them leave the body. It is possible. Why is that he comes down? Why is that he comes down? So there is a story of Akbar and Birbal. Okay. So Akbar was telling Birbal, oh, you are God, he has to come down to save you, to rescue you. Now our Allah, he is sitting there itself. He can do everything. Your God has to come down, take all the trouble of coming down and help you all. So Birbal said, for this I will give you a reply after some days. I was waiting for an opportunity. So after a few days, it so happened that there was a lake in front of his palace, and his pota means grandson. So one side, Birbal, the one side of the one bank of the lake, Birbal and Akbar was sitting and chit-chatting. The other side, Akbar's wife with the grandson was playing. So Akbar's wife, for some reason, went to the palace, leaving the child in the hands of the maid. So they were chit-chatting. He suddenly heard a sound. Somebody fell in the water. So he came to know that it was his grandson. Somehow he slipped from the hand of the maid and fell. Immediately jumped into the water. And he swam. Then he just saved that child. After that incident, he came back to Birbal. Then Birbal asked him, how is that you jumped yourself into the lake and saved it? You should have ordered the ministers. You should have told me why you yourself jumped. It was not necessary. There are so many servants around you. You can just instruct them. They will jump. No, he's my own blood, my own grandson. Then Birbal said, similarly, our Supreme Lord, we are all his devotees. So to save us, he personally comes down. It's not, he doesn't want to send his representative to save. So that is a loving relationship that he has. If he wants, he can save us sitting there. But to have a loving exchange, loving relationship, he comes down and says, just like how you saved. He did not engage somebody else, your minister or servants, to save this grandson. Similarly, our Supreme Lord, because of the love, he comes himself. He takes avatar to save all of us. So in that, at that time, so many demons also get killed. So the main purpose of his coming down to this material world is not to kill the demons, but to have loving exchanges with the devotees and to save them from the atrocities of the demons. So that is the reason. So because the Supreme Lord's potencies are unlimited, they're also inconceivable. We cannot fathom, we cannot conceive beyond our understanding, beyond our logic. Just accept it. Whatever Guru, Sadhu, Shastra says, we have to just accept it. We cannot reason, or we cannot analyze, or we cannot understand it by our knowledge and logic. We should not use our tiny brain to understand the extraordinary superhuman activities of the Supreme Lord. For example, Krishna creates all the species of life, and yet he has no connection with. He says in Bhagavad Gita, he creates all the species, but he is not at all involved in that. He is totally aloof from them. The Jiva souls have no awareness of how the cosmic process is taking place. The Jivas, the living entities, doesn't know. Forget about the cosmos. No, each one of us, we are eating the food. So many different varieties of food. How it is going through, how the system is working, how it is getting digested, how the nutrition is getting supplied to different parts of the body, we don't know. Only some limited people will know because they have learned. But generally, most of the people doesn't know how it is working. So what to speak of the cosmos? And yet, by the will of the Lord, they are sometimes supplied bodies, allowed to maintain themselves for a while, and then without their knowledge or control, they are annihilated. So this is about the Shat Parinam, the sixth transformation from birth to death. But he whose will directs all these changes is not involved with it. So everything is happening by the supervision of the Supreme Lord. Karmana Deva Netrena Jantur Dehopapadyade. Srimad Bhagavatam says, Karmana Deva Netrena Jantur Dehopapadyade. By their karma and by the supervision of the Supreme Lord, the living entities are getting their deha, their bodies, according to their karma and desires. And by the supervision of the Supreme Lord. It is not that we choose. Okay, I can choose a very nice body. I can take birth in a very opulent family. I can look very beautiful. Can we choose all these things? Can we choose the parents? Can we choose the body? Can we choose the place? Nothing. We are forced. We are forced by our own karma, by our own desires, by the supervision of the Supreme Lord. But he whose will directs all these changes is not involved. Although he is doing everything, he is not involved in it. Just like the jailer is also in the jail, the victims are also in the jail, Okay? But the jailer is not subject to the rules and regulations of the jail. He is free to go anywhere. But the victims, they are not free. They are bound by the rules and regulations of the jail. So glorifying the Lord as King Kulashekara does in this prayer awakens in us the proper mood of appreciation for the Lord's greatness and also helps us understand our position as his insignificant servants. So what Kulashekara Alvar is stating here, he's glorified the Supreme Lord in this prayer. So he's also telling us the mood of appreciation. What should be our mood in glorifying the Supreme Lord? We should always glorify the Supreme Lord about his greatness, about his mercy, about his compassion, about his qualities. Okay? Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela. We have to glorify his Nama, Rupa, Guna, and Leela. So that purifies our existence. It's not that Lord is in want of our appreciation or glorification. It is for our benefit. It's for our purification. See, there are many things, visuals, or can give us joy. For example, classical music. Okay. We can enjoy that. Very nice. It's in the mode of goodness, isn't it? So classical music against devotional songs or devotional kirtan, especially the Vaishnavas songs composed by Vaishnavas, sung by devotees. Which one is better? Both gives us joy. Okay. The devotional songs, the Vaishnava Acharya's songs, and the classical musics, both of them. Sometimes we may like the classical music more than the devotional because it is so attractive. It gives more pleasure to our ears than the devotional because of our impurity. Isn't it? It's because of our impurity. If we are pure, we will not choose the classical music because it is entertainment, it is time pass. Okay. Here, devotional service, even if it is not composed very nicely, not sung very nicely, by hearing this, our consciousness gets purified. Our contaminated consciousness gets purified. Whereas other classical songs or songs in the mode of goodness may give us enjoyment, entertainment. It doesn't purify our consciousness. So which one is better? That's why Prabhupada says, even if it is wrong, not composed very nicely, maybe there may be some mistake, but still you should hear the leelas and or pastimes or attributes or qualities of Supreme Lord. Then reading and hearing the mundane topics of this material world. Because mundane topics will agitate our mind, but the spiritual topics will purify our mind and consciousness. So this is what Kulashekara Alvar is teaching us, that we should appreciate the Supreme Lord, Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela, and that is for our benefit, for our purification, because from time immemorial, from so many lives, we are carrying anarthas with us. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. We have to remove this. We have to purify all these anarthas and purify our existence so that we can perform pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord, by which we can also serve the Supreme Lord in a very nice way for his satisfaction. So this is the purpose and goal of our human life. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpada rubhesya kripa sindhu bevacha patidanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo. Ananta Kodi Vaishnava ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. I go Premanandi Hari.